G'day there guys, I don't have TikTok because I don't like addiction, but I get addicted to everything else. It's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the A-hole? Now if you love today's bloody good content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and have a bloody good time. Thank you. Posted by user Throwaway Sneem. Titled, Am I the A-hole for not rehiring the nanny we fired over a misunderstanding? I, 38 female, have a 17-year-old daughter from a previous relationship and a 6-year-old daughter from my current marriage. My husband and I both work, so we employ a nanny. This nanny also takes care of my 11-year-old nephew, who comes over a lot when my brother is at work. A couple days ago, my meeting for the afternoon was rescheduled, so I decided to go home at 4:30 instead of my usual 6:30. The nanny was supposed to bring my daughter home for a snack before dropping her off at dance. I walk in and am surprised to find the nanny isn't back yet. I go to the kitchen and find a can of Smirnoff Ice Smash poking out of the trash can. All the alcohol in my house is in a wine cellar, and my husband and I don't buy Smirnoff. I was furious because nobody in the house had any business drinking. My nanny, when she was hired, was told that drinking on the job was strictly banned. I went into my daughter's room where she was lounging on her bed and held up the can. I asked if this was hers. My daughter swore up and down that this wasn't hers. She looked me in the eyes and said that she heard a can being cracked open by the nanny and that she saw the nanny drinking something in a can as she passed by the kitchen. I called the nanny and she said she was on her way home and there was traffic. She comes in and I ask her about the can. She said this wasn't hers, but kept not meeting my eyes. The nanny admitted to drinking from a can, but said she disposed of it elsewhere, and it wasn't alcohol. I decided to believe my daughter, and told the nanny that we were going to have to let her go. After the whole debacle, I called my brother to tell him that somebody else would be caring for his son when he came over next. A few hours later, my brother calls to say that his son claims that my older daughter told him she'd get alcohol from friends and she'd dispose of it before we got home. My younger daughter comes up to me after dinner and says she's seen the same colored cans as the one I found under her older sister's bed. I confronted my older daughter and she finally admitted she lied. She apologized to her sister and said she learned her lesson. My brother said his son really wants the same nanny as before, and my younger daughter asked if this means the nanny can come back. My older daughter said it would be humiliating to have to admit fault to the nanny, and said I can't be so cruel as to make her see the nanny again every day. She asked if this means she has to grovel in front of the nanny. I told her that while we're disappointed, we do not want to put her through this, and hopefully we can find just as good a nanny. I told both my brother and my younger daughter that it would be best that we do not reach out to the nanny in any way, and that it would be rather humiliating to make my daughter apologize, given the situation and potential for awkwardness. My younger daughter cried and said she loved the nanny more than her sister. Am I the a-hole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I might be the a-hole for not making my daughter face an external consequence for lying. We don't want to hire the nanny back because that would have to include an apology and admitting of fault from my daughter, and while that may help her learn her lesson, it is rather humiliating. I think yes, you are the a-hole for this one. I can get why you wouldn't want to apologize, but you just group yourself into that same category as people that don't learn from their mistakes. Don't admit to their faults, and continue to repeat history because they don't care. And you're passing all of these lessons on to your daughter. That's not good parenting, and they're not going to learn anything good from this. Surrounding your daughter with negative influences, and showing that there are no consequences for her actions, is really bad. You're a bad parent, and you're the a-hole. In the comments, Internet Points Iguana says, "You're the a-hole. Not for not rehiring her, but for not apologizing and making your daughter apologize. So it's cool if she just goes through life not taking responsibility for her actions because it's humiliating? Just what the world needs more of right now. Economically privileged kids who grow up learning that their actions have no consequences and know that their feelings are more important than other people's livelihoods." You're the a-hole, and both you and your daughter need to apologize. I doubt your nanny wants to work for you anymore, but saying it's too humiliating for your daughter to apologize is... yikes. OP, your daughter needs to feel embarrassed about her lie. How else will she learn that there are consequences for her actions? Right now, the only thing you're teaching her is that it's okay to drink when underage, lie about doing it, lie about someone else to the extent that they lose their job and potentially damage their situation, and never apologize. Do you really want her to grow into a person who thinks those things are all totally okay? And Converting Creative says, you're the a-hole. You're punishing 4 people to save the one who caused this entire mess. You're also teaching your eldest daughter that actions don't have consequences. She took the coward's way out and blamed her actions on someone else and got caught in a lie. She literally cost an innocent person their job. A fitting punishment would be for her to have to see that person every day so she'd think about doing this sort of thing next time, especially since your brother, nephew, and youngest daughter like her. You're not always going to be there to protect her or keep her from facing consequences. At the very least, you should have her apologize to the nanny, and you should too. Posted by user ResidentAd3775. Titled, Am I the a-hole for drinking in the morning sometimes? My 20 male roommate, 20 female, thinks I have a drinking problem. UK, legal age and all that. I work nights in quite a demanding and stressful job, and sometimes, realistically maybe once a month, every 6 weeks maybe, when I get home in the morning, I'll have a couple of drinks to relax and unwind. I honestly do not drink very often because I don't really like the feeling of being drunk, but a slight buzz is fine. Now, without fail, for the last year, every time I've been having one of these mornings, my roommate has walked in. At first, she didn't say anything, but the last 3 times she has. The first couple times she said, "Are you sure you should be drinking at this time?" and stuff about it being so early. I brushed it off. This is my evening. This morning I said something back because she accused me of having a drinking problem because I was drinking at 8 a.m. I told her that I've been awake and working all night, and her 8 a.m. is my 8 p.m., so it's perfectly acceptable, and I was tired of feeling judged for something so innocuous that I do once a month. I didn't raise my voice or insult her, I was firm. This is my home too, and this is reasonable. She called me an a-hole and shut herself in her room. I feel that I haven't done anything wrong. Am I the a-hole? I don't see how drinking once every month is a drinking problem. Day drinking is a normal thing that people do. Just because this isn't in a social setting like day drinking is, it's not like people don't do it and it's not a problem for them. This one's just looking for drama and she's looking for an argument. She's made it more than apparent. I wouldn't give her the time of day. I would just stonewall her and tell her to leave me alone, because it's not an issue. This is my life. So for that OP, not the a-hole. In the comments, absolutely not the a-hole. I worked graveyard for a long time. 7 a.m. is our 5 p.m. Yeah, what she said, OP. If you haven't already, you need to tell that to your roommate, not the a-hole. This is like criticizing someone who lives in a different time zone for drinking when it's morning for you. Maybe that analogy will get through to her, although really, it seems quite obvious already. Not the a-hole. I used to work 3rd shift and I'd get home at 9 a.m. I like a beer with dinner and a movie, and then I go to bed. My old roommate would flip on me and say crap like I shouldn't be having pasta for breakfast, and I shouldn't be drinking at 9 a.m., and I shouldn't be sleeping all day. People really don't seem to get that if you're up all night working, 9 a.m. is evening. Having a drink at 9 p.m. would be absolutely unacceptable because you have to go to work. And Cubby G Throw says, not the a-hole. Your drinking in the morning is actually, according to your work schedule, you drinking in the evening. She wouldn't say that to anyone who worked a 9 to 5 and then had a couple of drinks every 6 weeks after work. She should mind her business. Posted by user NotVitTheChemist, titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling off my friends for missing their engagement photo shoot over their roommate?" Hi Reddit. So I do photography as a side hobby for extra cash. Portrait shots, engagement sessions, weddings, etc. It's fun and I like what I do. 2 of my good friends got engaged last year and were wanting to do an engagement session, and I suggested when it snows, we should take advantage of that. They loved the idea, and I even went shopping with the soon-to-be bride to pick out an outfit to go well with the snowy background. We finally found out it was going to snow last night and this morning, several days ago. Bride is my neighbor, groom is not. Groom lives 15 minutes away on really bad back roads that ice over and are definitely not safe to drive in after snow. So I suggested he spend the night before. I don't want anyone getting hurt over photos. Groom and bride have slept together plenty of times, in both meanings of the word sleeping, so this isn't a problem of morality. Groom's roommate is obsessed with their sex lives and purity. One time he tore their living room apart in anger, all because the groom spent the night at the bride's apartment. Groom has to sneak bride in after his roommate goes to bed, and out at 5 AM before he wakes up to prevent angering him. His roommate has all kinds of issues concerning his faith, and he pushes his issues onto the groom and will make life hell if groom doesn't follow the roommate's morality code. I'm a Christian myself, but this guy is a lunatic. Over the past 6 months, our other friends and my boyfriend have suggested moving out or even crashing with them because everyone thinks groom's roommate is crazy and creepily controlling. But groom feels obligated to stay since roommate has no other real friends. Anyway, so groom was going to spend the night with bride. That was already discussed so that we can walk to each other in the snow and no one has to drive. I had everything set up and ready to go. I get a text this morning saying groom did not spend the night because he feared angering his roommate, and so we can't do the engagement photos because, as I predicted, the roads are iced over. I'm mad, and basically told them off that they need to stop letting roommate control their lives, and that it's unhealthy as hell, and it isn't fair to me to go through lengths to plan a photo shoot and prepare equipment, all to cancel 2 hours before by saying groom didn't spend the night as planned. I told them they better suggest something else, because there's no way we'll ever do a snowshoot for them if they keep living in fear of roommate. They're upset and think I'm harsh. I think they need to get out of this toxic roommate situation, and should have told me in advance that groom was never planning to stay the night, because I knew if he didn't, I'd not have known to prepare since I know how bad the roads get. Am I the a-hole? I find absolutely no logic in this man wanting to stay in this apartment with this roommate. If he has to walk on eggshells with his fiancée, holy crap. Is there not a clause in the tenancy agreement that you don't enter the person's room because that seems healthy? He figures out that they're having sex and he tears your room apart for something that's normal and healthy in a relationship? This man has serious issues. That is way far over the line. That's literally endangering your privacy and your life if he's willing to do something that far. How are we not going to count out the possibility that he could go further and threaten you physically? I think they do need to get out of that toxic roommate situation, and I think OP being mad and telling them off for it was acceptable. It's realistic that they're destroying their hopes at getting a snowshoot. They're giving in to the pressures of this stupid roommate, and they need to come back to reality. Bride and groom deserve security and having something go without the anxiety of this roommate. They are causing their own problems by not fixing this, which should have never been a problem in the first place. OP, you did a good job, and I'm gonna say not the a-hole. In the comments, prepare yourself for a blizzard of not the a-hole. The groom legitimately needs an intervention to get him out of that arrangement and away from that roommate. You're all being way too polite about this. It goes beyond controlling, and it's frankly scary. There is no reason under the sun or storm clouds that you should not have received a text in the evening saying the groom will not be staying at your neighbor's and to prepare yourself for snow cancellation in the morning. Edit. I scratched out my first sentence because, to my great surprise, this is going to be more contentious than I imagined. To me, you were clearly not the a-hole. It would have been common courtesy for them to give you a heads up that plans had changed. If the boyfriend wasn't in touch with you, certainly the bride, your next-door neighbor, could have been. This whole thing is weird and gives a credence to the oft-used cliché of no good deed. OP replies, "Yeah, if they even told me last night, I wouldn't be as upset. But like, the morning of? They both knew that he wouldn't be spending the night by last night, so they could have said something. So guess is maybe he thought he'd try to drive? I'm waiting for the update where the roommate forces them to let him live in their marital home because they can't say no. Not the a-hole. They need to wake up and realize that this isn't a healthy dynamic. They're adults who are being manipulated, and this time it affected you. Not the a-hole, and I would not do the shoot for them anymore. Did you set a price or was it for free? Such a late cancellation means they still need to pay up a portion of the price because you have spent time preparing and could not get another booking. I was going to do it for free as a gift to them, no charge. That's why. They didn't care about your time or efforts. Most people don't value things when they're free. Tell them that because of this, you will no longer do it for free. They will never take your time and effort into consideration because it's not costing you anything. Maybe once it costs them something, they'll be a little bit more appreciative. Also, his roommate sounds creepy AF. I have a feeling someday he is going to have a skin suit hanging in a walk-in cooler. And Jumpsuiter says, roommate's behavior sounds more like that of a jealous lover than a roommate. Perhaps the Puritan's shtick is a masquerade? Not the a-hole. My boyfriend and I agree, lol. It's very irrational behavior that could be explained by a roommate having romantic feelings for the groom. That alone doesn't explain why the groom is accepting his behavior. You sure there's nothing going on between them? He's putting his roommate over his partner. That's some weird crap. When you're a very empathetic person, you end up putting yourself in these situations to save them. It says in the post the groom doesn't like it, but is hesitant to do anything about it because without him, roommate doesn't have any other friends. I've found myself in those situations. Posted by user ThrowRA_KickoutSis, titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my sister I will never support her again if she goes back to her ex?" A bit of backstory. I, 33 male, come from a large religious family, and nearly as soon as I turned 18, I escaped. Since then, my wife and I see them for large gatherings and such, but we're kept at an arm's length. One of those siblings I largely lost contact with is Julie, 29 female. She got married young to a man that our parents loved. They had 3 kids and seemed to be playing happy family. When she was pregnant with the 4th, she found out that he cheated on her and did something so disgusting I can't say it here. I found out through another sibling and immediately saw red. I hadn't really talked to Julie in years, but she's still my sister and I see him as a monster. Anyone that she went to stay with would tell her to go back to him. Meanwhile, my wife and I do well financially. We agreed that we had to do what we could to get them out. Somehow, I got through to her, and she and her kids moved in with us about 2 years ago. Obviously, I didn't expect them to be here this long. I gave her time because of the baby, but I had to ask her to get a job. My wife and I have good jobs, but 5 extra mouths to feed is a lot. Julie has basically no education, however, plus childcare. Okay, money is tight, but we can make it work. She at least did stuff around the house. However, her divorce has been dragging out for years, as she keeps wanting to make up, then changing her mind and running back. X and his family are manipulative, and Julie still largely has the beliefs of the religion that we were raised in. She cries frequently about her fear that she will go to hell if she gets divorced and such. I just try to encourage her to fully leave the best I can. However, I recently reached the breaking point. Julie came to me saying that she's pregnant again. Apparently they're still married enough to sneak off during his visitation with the kids. She wants to give him another chance and move her family back in with him. She has tried to go back before, but this time with another baby in the mix, she seems serious. I felt exhausted at the very idea of doing this whole thing all over again, and simply told her that if she goes back to him, she will no longer be able to come to me for support. I'll see her at weddings and holidays just like I do with the others, but she'll no longer be welcome at my home. She insisted that he's really going to change, and she'll never need to come back anyway. They are moving out next week. I thought that was fine, but my wife is furious at me. She insists I'm abandoning a woman and innocent children who need to be saved, and that we both know he hasn't changed. I truly don't know how to feel because she's not wrong, but I simply can't do this same cycle with no end in sight. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister I won't help her anymore? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I think I could be the a-hole because she really has nowhere to go but her ex or me. I don't know now if cutting her off is going too far. I think there's elements of abandoning her in the future that could potentially put you in an a-hole status, but I just don't see it being a realistic thing to call you an a-hole for this. She's had so many chances, she's been burned by him so many times, and she continues not to learn her lesson. At this point, it's best for you to just let her go, and possibly just look after the kids if it comes to that point. I know that's not something that should be expected, and I know that's not something that you have to do or you should do, but to me, it's just some food for thought for in the future if it goes south and those kids are in danger. Really, she's left you with no option in this situation but to cut her off, and personally, I would too, and I don't blame you for doing that. It doesn't look like it's getting any better, there's another baby on the way, and she has shown no willingness to change. There is no sympathy that you need to give her in this situation. And for that, what you're going to do in the future with cutting her off, and how you're approaching this, not the a-hole. Volcanic Equation says, not the a-hole. You are setting boundaries, and you have every right to do so. Sometimes putting your foot down is the only way to stop enabling a toxic situation. I hope your sister sees the light and leaves this guy for good. I guess in the end, OP's decision just takes away any chance for her to ever escape him. She will rely on him because she never learned to be on her own, or to lose the fear of the religion and the alleged consequences if she leaves him. She has refused to do it. OP can't keep paying for her to have babies with him. No divorce, so no child support. They are playing the OP. I don't think they're playing OP. I think she's in a really effed up situation and is making bad decisions. She was away from him, she had family support, and she still was having sex with him. She dragged this out for years. After a while, you have to make your choice. If this guy is so sick, then take him to court. Keep your kids safe and let him pay child support. This is what sane, emotionally healthy people do. But I don't think OP's sister really fits that description. No one has ever expected her to be responsible for herself, so now she doesn't know how, and has 4 kids to support, going on 5. That's a classic abuser tactic to make it impossible for someone to leave. She isn't doing this to OP on purpose, but she isn't in a mental place to make good decisions either. Not the a-hole. She's obviously stuck in a very abusive situation, and you did everything you could to help her. But she can't truly be helped until she's ready to cut him off, and you have to protect yourself and have your boundaries. Also, if her religion is Christianity, then she needs someone who can explain the point of Jesus' death on the cross. Getting a divorce won't send her to hell any more than getting married will send her to heaven. Also, God didn't put anyone on this earth to be abused. She may be ostracized from the church because a lot of them would prefer to see a woman and her children be abused rather than get a divorce, but that's not what God wants. In the Bible, it says the husband is supposed to love and cherish his wife, and if he doesn't do that and he's abusive, He's breaking his wedding vows, and that is worse in God's eyes than initiating a divorce because of abuse. In the case of abuse, by the time the divorce has been initiated, the wedding vows have long since been broken. We live in a world filled with people that say God wants things to be a certain way because his followers want things to be a certain way. The same followers who are extremely kind, caring, and giving on Sunday morning, but by Sunday afternoon, and for the rest of the week, are extremely judgmental, hypocritical, and greedy. I'll take my chances that my God is a loving, compassionate, and forgiving God that didn't put me on this earth to suffer, and he'd rather me be safe and happy rather than miserable and hurting just to avoid a divorce. I hope one day OP's sister feels the same way. Designer Memory says, "Not the a-hole. There's only so much you can do. Your sister is an adult and has the right to make her own decisions, even terrible ones. You've honestly gone above and beyond, but your sister isn't going to change. Don't close the door on your sister completely. If she needs to talk, be there for her. But at this stage, she's made her bed and gotten pregnant in it, and I wouldn't be offering financial support again. Maybe ask your wife, does she think holding your sister against her will is a better option?" To clarify on my wife a bit, she agrees with me as far as letting Julie go if she wants to go. She doesn't want me to move the kids' room back to an office, switch up our budget, or basically go back to our previous lifestyle again, just in case Julie decides to leave him again. I know I could put an aside as an emergency fund for her or something in case she comes to her senses, but I'm honestly so tired of stressing when it does nothing. And yeah, I'm fine with talking and texting with her, and we all stay in touch in some way through our parents, so I don't plan on going no contact completely. She just can't stay here again or take my resources. One skinny boy says, "Hey, that woman sounds exactly like my mother, and you sound like me. Dude, you can't do anything here. It takes these abuse victims about 7 times to leave the relationship before they actually do. You need to look after yourself first, as this is hurting you. Don't play into any bullcrap hero or savior complex. Yeah, she's your family, but you have to prioritize yourself, because if you don't, then you will keep hurting. She needs to do this herself, as she's the only person who can actually make an impact. You cannot force her to do this. You cannot convince her to do this. Her mind is in a convoluted cycle of making excuses for him, blind hope, despair, acceptance, fear, and a lot of other things. That isn't something you can change, and is going to always give him final chances. That's something CBT and trauma therapy can change, but not you, and to a certain extent her. She needs to decide and take action to escape herself, because anything anyone else will do won't work as long as she's still stuck in that illusion of being in a rock in a hard place, even when you really aren't at all. I wouldn't be so sure of cutting her off just like that, but maybe set harder boundaries next time. Make sure she can come to you, but help her get a simple minimum wage job or 2, or something to help contribute and set a hard date on moving out. Either way, make sure you're okay first and foremost. Your wife is understandably upset, but needs to realize you're being hurt. Sure, you could compare your hurt to your sister's, but that doesn't matter because hurt is hurt. Just because she has it worse doesn't mean your hurt has any less worth, and that you should tough it out, or something else stupid and ignorant. Also, from the kid here, keep an eye out for the kids there. That crap do be hurting us. I've still got issues because of it, and will for my entire life. Typically these situations can go either way, in which the kids pick up the abuser's attitude and the cycle continues, the abusers being an anti-model, the opposite of a role model, and the cycle stops, or sometimes both, and the cycle still continues. Make sure that they know that this is wrong, but they can still view their father in a good light. And that's okay. Their feelings are okay. He can be a dick while still being a good dad. This crap is something I destroyed myself over. That they have a space to escape to, and keep an eye out for their mental health and things like unhealthy coping cycles. Things like mass masturbation, mass avoidance, and emotional numbing, drug use, and believe it or not, mass daydreaming. I had a couple of these, and the last one was a shock to realize was a problem, or that I even did so. Either way, believe it or not, you're doing good so far, my guy. Ain't anything else you could do right now. Now go and complain about taxes or something. I don't know what the hell you adults do. Complain about the elderly and bourgeoisie or some crap. That's what us idiots do, and it works. No a-holes here. Tough situation that you need personal experience in order to navigate and respond correctly. G'day there guys, and that's the end of today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed it and were entertained by today's bloody good content. As always, I want to do a quick shout out and a thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your beautiful faces and names will be up on screen right now. Haven't forgot about you guys, sorry I was taking a little break there. So yeah, if you see yourself, give yourself a pat on the back. If you want to be on this screen, there's links down to the description below where you can sign up and help support the channel and all future projects that I'm going to be doing on this one. With all that said, I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. I'll see you in the next episode, and I do hope you enjoy it. Thank you.